What's going on, everybody? This is Avery Alexander Hadley. All praise, glory, and honor goes to the Most High. Um, Releasing is a form of healing, right? And I feel like I need to keep talking about it. Like, I'm gonna keep sharing my story. I'm gonna keep, saying what I've been through, and also it's gonna help somebody else, because someone may have gone through a similar situation. Someone may have gone through a worse situation, and they need to hear this so they could say what they've gone through, so that justice could be served, and that they'll be healed and they'll release, and that they'll get breakthrough and deliverance from that, and it'll no longer be in their past, right? It'll no longer be hindering them from what they are purposed to do in this life, and that they'll help others, and it'll bring about change. You may have been raped, you may have been molested, you may have been touched inappropriately. Your cousin or brother or sister may have violated you, or your father or mother or uncle or auntie or family member or a friend of the family may have done something to you. You may have been beaten, you may have been tortured, you may have been thrown and slung up against the wall. It's so much things that could have happened to you in your youth and adolescent years. You may have gone through things that you're scared to talk about. You may need counseling. You may need to tell the authorities about that sexual assault situation, right, with a person sexually assaulting you. You may need to do that. You might need to do that, and hopefully this helps you. I haven't personally been sexually assaulted. I mean, someone that's close to me when I was a very young age did touch me inappropriately, but that's neither here or there. That's for another story. But I'm gonna say this, and then I hope it encourages someone to tell their story, to post it on YouTube, to share it on Instagram, to share it on Facebook, to tell the authorities, to get it out of your head, right? Because if you don't get it out of your head, you're going to be bound by it. And what the enemy wants, he wants nothing more than for you to be bound by something, and for you to be as a boa constrictor's prey, for you to be wrapped up with no air, no breathing, feeling like you having no outlet to tell anybody what really happened, what really went on, and for it to suffocate and kill you, and for you to be eaten. And what we're going to do is we're going to chop off every snake's head. We're going to chop off every lion's head. We're going to go mighty in battle. We're knocking down David, and we're knocking down Goliath. We're knocking down all giants, and every giant is falling. Every tall tree is coming down. Every obstacle, every mountain, every every crooked place is being made straight. It's time for you to get your breakthrough. It's time for you to tell what happened. It may be time for someone to confess that they murdered someone. It may be time for someone to confess that they raped someone, molested someone, hurt someone. It may be time for someone to admit, oh, I did beat this person, or I did say this to this person and I hurt their feelings, or I did do this, or I did do that, or this went on here, this went on there. I was exposed to this at a young age. I was, I've did this. Maybe this encourages someone to reach out and get closer with God. But let me say this, and then I'm gonna wrap the video up. This is basically just the gist of, I was just thinking about my dad, and I was thinking about him from a different perspective, and it's like it made me have compassion on what hurt me. I developed compassion for most of my life, much of my life, all of my life hurt me. And I forgave him. Like, I've forgiven him. He's dead. He's gone. He's not coming back. Right? And I wish things could have been fixed before he passed away. And it was such a mix of emotions the next day when I was at the funeral home, and I it went from just me cracking jokes like I always do to it setting in that, oh, he's gone. I was looking at the pictures and I started busting out crying, and I went outside and I was yelling and I was screaming, and I was like, why are you going? Why you didn't teach me this? Why you didn't do that? Why did this have to be like this? Why did this go this way? Why couldn't it have been better? Why did we do this? Why was it always like this? And I couldn't be upset at my dad that he was bound to generational curses. I couldn't be upset that my dad didn't have a father. I couldn't be upset that his role models were promiscuous and were adulterers. I couldn't be upset that, he didn't submit to God. I couldn't be upset about certain things. And there was aspects where I was rebellious. I was also provoked, but there was aspects where I was rebellious and certain things he did was just. And I look at things from a different perspective. But all in all, this is a release. And so what this will do, and then I'm going to really read it and I'm going to be done with it. Pedro, come here. We outside. We outside. Come here, P. I'm going to read this, and this is going to be a release for me, and hopefully it becomes a release for the next person and the next person and the next story and the next person, right? Because we don't need to be walking around here cold-hearted. We don't need to be walking around here with hatred and unforgiveness and bitterness. We cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven with hatred, unforgiveness, bitterness. We have to forgive those, even our parents, even siblings, even family members, even strangers, etc. And it's hard. It's hard to do, but we must do it because God forgave us for our sins. No one's perfect on this earth. And you could feel and have an argument of this sin's greater than that sin's not as bad as any sin, but all sin is sin. So we've all fallen short. So I'm not justifying anybody being raped, anybody being hit, assaulted, anything. This is going to be for you to listen to a story and then for you to, repeat the action and release. All right. So my dad definitely suffered in silence for the most part, but rarely he would say he feels alone. Nobody loves him. Rarely he would say he feels alone. Nobody loves him. I would tell him that I appreciate him and don't let the devil play with you. You'll have what you speak. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. He was unhappy in his marriage. He cheated on my mom when I was young, and my mom stayed when she could have left. I definitely feel like he didn't have good mentors growing up, considering his father was absent and he grew up in the projects. His father figure was my great uncle, who was a deacon in the church but supposedly slept around. My father, he talked and rambled about divorce often. He would say, don't marry a black woman. Marry a Mexican or a white woman. He would be up early in the morning just talking. This shit, excuse my French, would hurt and make me mad to see my mom and dad argue and fight, then put on smiles in public and when company is over. This shit was subconsciously planted into my head for about 21 years. Dysfunction, confusion, selfishness, anger, rage, pride, comparison, lack of affection, lack of communication, misunderstanding. There was points where I would try to get my mom to go in the room and talk to my dad. He would send me back and forth. They both would. Tell your mom to come see. Coretta calls phone. And they would talk on the phone, and one would say something that the other didn't like or wasn't respectable, and then they would hang up. And my mom used to get upset and even used to cry. And then it got to the point of her not dealing with what my dad would say and do. She would be like, okay, you need help. In which he did. They both did, individually and in their covenant. My dad didn't submit to God, and that's why a lot of chaos happened within the house in their marriage. There was times where I was upset with what I saw and told my mom, he's not good for you. You deserve to be treated better. I think y'all should get a divorce. And there was other times where I was trying to keep them together. She always did say, if he wants a divorce, he'll put up the paperwork. I didn't understand it. With people on either sex filing for divorce, why didn't she just file? But she stuck to the letter of divorcement and was unhappy through different parts of her marriage. My dad was an excellent provider, and he would cook for us. My mother was a good, loyal wife to him. She made sure we went to church and grew up learning about God. She cooked for us. They both disciplined us. It was just at times and harsh at others. My dad would raise his voice and strike fear inside of me. And if I continued to rebel, he would whip me. My mother would warn me before she would whip me. Things have been thrown at me. I've been locked outside all day to go inside late at night and get whipped. A lot of stuff went down. This is just this is just surface level. This isn't, getting, a couple feet deep. This isn't going to the bottom 44, 45 meters down. This is just surface level, right? It was a lot of arguing going on in the house, a lot of confusion between home and school, a lot of thoughts I wanted to express at an early age that I didn't know how to. I couldn't. My dad definitely was church hurt. He got called out about tithes and offerings supposedly at church when he was putting tithe money in church under our accounts as children. From there, he never really went to church unless it was for a funeral. My dad lived a very private life. He had very few friends. While it seemed like he was cool with everyone and he knew just about everyone, no one was there for him spiritually. He would get taken advantage of a lot before he would just not speak to people for a good period of time, then invite those same people over who stole from him, lied on him, did stuff and never paid it back. At the time when he did what he did to me as a youth in my teenage years, I was mad at him, angry at him, furious with him. He would provoke me to anger and do stuff he didn't have to do because he knew it would get a reaction out of me. He was overprotective. He didn't allow me to hang out with friends. They never made time for me to play Bantam and Biddy. And he was making good money and sent me to school with yee haircuts. I would say, I'm not letting you cut my hair. And he would threaten me and make me get his haircuts. Eventually, I got older. I remember being by the countertop and I had got a bad grade and my hair had gotten thick. My fro, you dig? And he threatened to cut it off. He knew what he was doing, causing unnecessary stress. And later he would joke, let me give you a haircut. In a twisted way, it was funny, but seriously fucked up. He would play mind games and blurt out random phrases, saying stuff like, lifestyles of the rich and famous, chicks with dicks, I'm too sexy to go to jail, this too much chocolate, I want Niecy Nash. That's just off the top of my head. I'm still in the process of not replaying episodes in my head. I remember me and my younger brother Caleb was in the expedition and we were playing and he faked being hurt. My dad was so mad he tried to hit me on our way back from Sonic and Thibodeau going to Raceland. He pulled over the vehicle with my older brother and mom in the vehicle. He got out of the driver's seat. The window was down in the back. He tried to grab me. I didn't let him and threw my slushie in his face. There was cursing going on. He got back in the expedition and told me, get out. When I got out, he pulled off and left me there stranded on the side of the highway. It was hours before my mom came and picked me up. Years later, I spent the summer with my grandparents in Quarrel, Texas. And I told my mom, I didn't want to come back. My dad said, he's coming back. I just wanted to play football and be away from the toxicity. Back home, my grandfather told me so much that summer. I grew fond of his cigarettes when I had asthma-like symptoms because he was just so peaceful and mellow. It was always cool being around Papa James, even though he was a womanizer. It was toxicity and quarrel too. My grandfather would come home pissy drunk. Literally, my grandmother would have to have his food ready, but they argued and he felt like she nagged him. She would cook, clean, do laundry, and go to church. That summer, I listened to music all summer. I remember especially listening to J. Cole and Jeremiah Plains and Meek Mill and Drake and Migos, etc. My dad would make police calls instead of handling things like a man in his own house. He would later call the coroner on my mother and older brother and get them sent to the fourth floor, the crazy floor, the psych ward. At the same time, one in Thibodaux, Louisiana, and one at St. Anne Auction and Racing, Louisiana. At the same time, I was working at Walmart dating my ex, and I had to go visit both of them while working to go check up on them. He had my older brother in the not my older brother, my younger brother, excuse me, in the SUV while I was going to Rouse's one night, and I saw him and I told him about himself, and he said that my brother and my mother needed help. Crazy, right? Years later, he called the cops on me twice in one day and got me sent to the emergency room, shot with medicine and strapped down to a bed, catheterized from my penis. They took blood from my penis and had me strapped down for another 30 minutes. The next day I went to pee and it was painful. I would then be given another shot and strapped down to an ambulance bed and taken 3 hours away to a hospital where I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And no one talked to me and asked me about my life, what I do, my sleep patterns, nothing. Just a diagnosis and prescribing me pills. They shot me up with a needle and my neck was in a crook. One night for 4 hours. I prayed and prayed. This was hell for like 11 days. Last thing I'll say is one time me and my dad got into it while my auntie and uncle was there, and I got upset, and instead of punching him, I started punching holes in the wall, and he ran outside threatening to shoot us. We slept in a hotel that night. My auntie was a social worker and did nothing about it. It was a scramble of truth, of true events, but the next time you go around judging people, think before you speak. Some people aren't what they've been through. I haven't shared how all my life's been, just a short glance. I'm not saying I've gone through the worst situation or best, but I've been through it. And I'm not the labels they prescribe me, which is meant to fit a demographic and to label them insufficient, etc. The medical field is wicked, and there's people who know laws, etc., who know people who go against morals for evil. Analyze before you speak. Perspective is key at every stage and every level of your life. Be grateful, be thankful, be humble. Forgive others, heal, walk in love. There's someone who's going through a way worse situation than you, and there's others who can't relate to you either. Understand and understand others don't understand. God bless. Understand that there's people going through way harsher, way worse situations. No food, no water. You know, they have like terrorists in their area. They get persecuted for their faith and their belief. They're going through it, and then there's people who are going through stuff mentally, and spirits is speaking to them and stuff like that. There's people who are, physically abused and beaten. There's people who are raped. I can release this. I was at a hotel in room 303 in Houston the other day, right? And at nighttime, it was the room right next to me. A woman was getting thrown and beat, right? And my mom, I was kind of upset because I was like, I just didn't want to deal with nothing at the moment. And I had my headphones in and I was just vibing to music and just looking outside the window. And my mom had to snag my foot off the bed while I was sitting in the chair. And I was really trying to ignore my mom. But when I heard the situation going on, I was like, what's going on? Right? And so I hurried up. I got out the room. My mom was like, don't go out there. Don't go mess with that. I was like, man, what would you do if somebody was in that situation? Would you want your daughter getting beat? Would you want your aunt, your niece or whatever getting beat on. Like, this woman was getting beat. She was getting thrown and slapped. She was saying, stop hitting me. You know, there's other people in the hallway. When I got out the hallway, you know, I hurried up. I went downstairs. I called the police. I was just like, you know, the police was asking, well, what's this, what's that? Instead of just, hey, this is where it's at this location. This is what's going on. You need to get here immediately. They're steady trying to ask questions. And I'm like, hurry up and get here. You feel me? Hurry up and get here. And I can't release something else that, you know, I went through personally, but it's not the time for it. But it just goes to show, like, people, you know, they're quick to pull out phones nowadays. They're quick to record people fighting. They're quick to record, you know, beef and stuff like that. And people hype up beef and destruction, but they don't stop it. They're not the peacemakers saying, hey, don't fight each other. It's wasting time. Don't kill each other. They already got enough people that done died on either side. You know, it's enough heartbreak. It's enough drama going on. Just make peace, right? It's really effed up. It's really crazy. You know, I saw people, you know, I done seen a lot of what you would call domestic abuse and domestic violence and arguments. Like, I was in Houston that night, or another night at that hotel, and I saw, you know, a couple arguing downstairs, a biracial couple, right? I don't mean to, but it was that, right? And she was like, give me my phone. And this dude, it must have been a manipulative situation. I can't speak on exactly what it was. I can't say this woman was tricking or whatever. They might have just been on hard times, et cetera, et cetera. You don't know the situation, but you know, it's just like, it's a lot, right? And it's really wicked. And it's like, we need people that can help people get out of certain situations. We need hubs and communities and reservoirs to where people can get the help they need away from their situation, or people can vocalize or express what they've gone through, that they can have someone to, if not hug them, to talk to them, and not doing it for profit, but doing it to actually help people and to show the love of God, not for any ulterior motive, right? There's people that are actually damaged. There's people in manipulative relationships. There's people that are hypersexual. There's people that, you know, have gone through, you know, infatuation or you know, being deceived, and then they become broken and damaged, and then, you know, they get labeled bipolar, schizophrenic, all this other bullshit, when no, they have soul ties with all these people because they walking around trying to fix it with sex. Are they addicted to, you know, drugs because they tried to find an outlet, right? And even if they wanted to be on drugs, they need to be on drugs, quote unquote. There's a certain dosage for everybody, but people just trying to escape pain. People need relief. People need somebody to talk to. This world is effed up. You know, not everybody's what the medical field labels them. And stop thinking that the medical field is right about everything, because truly they're not. They're not even right about this situation that's going on right now from 2019 up until 2022 as I'm speaking right now. They don't have all the answers. These tests are false positives. There's still people catching what's spreading even after they've gotten these things that they're pushing out and trying to force on people. So really analyze and have a heart. Have the heart of God and the love of God. Move with love with any and everything you do. Don't be quick to make decisions or assessments based off of what you see at first glance, because it's deeper than the surface, I promise. And with everything and everybody, right? There's girls on social media half naked, bent over, arched up, tongue sticking out, holding their breasts, with daddy issues, with attention, with seeking validation, etc. There's dudes on social media flexing cash. and wearing designer and wearing name brand to try to feel like they letting the name brand validate them. They showing all this money because that's all they got. They ain't never had it before. And then they get robbed or killed. There's people beefing. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of topics, right? It's a lot to it. There's people that are literally addicted to social media. There's people that are depressed, ready to kill themselves. There's people that need an outlet, someone to talk to. They just need to feel like someone cares, that like they're important. It's real, it's deep, right? It's a lot, but I encourage you to pray to God, everyone to pray to God. I encourage you to check up on your friends. I encourage you to, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Just, hey man, this world's getting colder, it's getting darker. The love of many is wax cold. The hearts of men waxing cold. Men's hearts are gonna faint them. It's gonna be fickle. It's a lot that's about to go on, but I encourage every person that's watching this video to cry out to Jesus Christ, to cry out to the Messiah, to cry out to the Most High God, right? I encourage everybody to develop a relationship with God, to put the phones down, to put social media down, to put toxic relationships away, to block the messages, to block the websites, to, turn off the game, to go take a walk, to go read a book, to go stretch, to go exercise, drink water, drink fruits, juice, eat fruits, eat vegetables. If you're going to do weed, smoke THC or CBD, make sure you're not getting high. Like, you're going to get a dopamine release, but don't be like a drunkard. Don't be getting drunk. Don't be getting high out your mind. Like, it's levels to this. Like, and some people need to heal. Some people don't even need alcohol. Some people don't need weed. Some people need to be delivered from it because it's not for everybody. And not everything's for everybody. But I encourage everybody to find God in this season. Find God in this season. Share your testimony. Share your story. And I hope this sparks not a challenge, but you could say it's a challenge, but it's really just a release. I hope this sparks a release journey for a lot of people, and other people can listen to people's stories, not to judge their story, not to criticize their story, or not to have tea on someone, or not to have, to speak curses over someone, but to actually look at their story and to pray for someone, or to actually look at their story and to, gain perspective and gain compassion. And that's all I got. I love y'all. I'm out.